When you know how to forgive someone who's hurt you and you're able to let go and forgive other people for things they've done, you create a huge amount of power in your life. And the outcome of this video is to understand why forgiveness is power, and also to highlight a couple of personal examples of my perspective on forgiveness and how that's evolved over time, and exactly why when you forgive another person, you're able to completely set yourself free. And without forgiveness, there is no freedom. All right, so we're going to cover that in this video. And as you're watching this video, if you like what you're hearing, if you resonate with what you're hearing, please give this video a like just below. Please comment below with any perspectives that you might be able to add and share for others as well. And if you do enjoy the content, make sure to hit subscribe down below along with the little notification bell, and you'll get a notification every time I put a new video up, which is 3 times per week. All right, so let's dive in. So first of all, if we think about it logically, why would we need to forgive someone, or why should someone need to be forgiven? And for them to be forgiven, they would have to have done something wrong. They haven't met our expectations in some way. And if they haven't met our expectations in some way, then it's because we are holding an image in our mind of how we think they should be. And when they don't meet that image, that expectation of how they should be, that's when they could do something wrong in our minds. And when they do something wrong, that is when we would have to make the decision of whether to forgive them or not. So it's all based on the assumption that someone can do something wrong because they haven't met our expectations of how they should be. So at the core of it is a construct within our own minds of how somebody should be. That's at the core of whether we should forgive someone or not. Now, if that's the case, what's happening there is that our expectation in our mind of how they should be is right, and when they don't meet that expectation, they are wrong. Okay? So with that being the case, if they're not meeting our expectations, they're wrong, and we want to be right, that then begs the question is, if not forgiving someone, if they've caused us pain, and we're holding on to the idea that we're right and they're wrong, and it's that difference, it's that expectation gap, if you want to call it that, that's creating the pain. The question is, do we want to be right or do we want to be happy? And often when we're not forgiving someone, it's because we want to be right. We want to make them wrong. We want them to hear our perspective. We want them to feel our pain. We want them to know that they haven't met our expectations. And that is a construct of self that we've created in our minds, and we want to protect that construct of self. We want to make ourselves right. We want to make them wrong. We want to be the one that either gets revenge, inflicts pain on them, does to them what they did to us, but it all revolves around this idea that we are right, they are wrong, they didn't meet our expectations. And what it means is, when we have that construct in our minds, an expectation of how we think they should be, then as long as we're holding on to that idea, that construct, that grudge, that is chaining us into a very specific way of being. And for us to hold on to that idea in our mind, we have to behave, we have to be and act in line with that construct. We have to be hurt, we have to be angry, we have to be bitter, we have to be resentful, we have to seek revenge, we have to act angry towards them, we have to avoid situations where they're showing up, we have to do all of the things and show up in our lives and in ourselves and in our reality. We have to show up in a way that is in line with the construct that we've created in our minds. And so, as an overarching principle, the whole idea of forgiveness is letting all of this go. And forgiveness isn't about setting the other person free. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free. Because when you can let go of the expectation of how they should have been or how they could have been, or let go of the idea that they've hurt you or they've done something to you or they've made you a certain way, when we can let go of all of that and just be, we can set ourselves free. Because that's the fact of the matter. People don't do things to us. People don't make us a certain way. Things just happen. They do things, things happen, and we choose to perceive those things a certain way. And it's that choice that we've made, it's our perception that causes the pain. They've done wrong by us. They're wrong, we're right. It's our perception that's causing us the pain. And when we're forgiving someone, what we're really doing, like forgiveness is about letting all of that go. And by letting it go, it's we're accepting responsibility. We are responsible for how we are choosing to feel. And if we are choosing that we want to make them wrong and we want to be right, and that's causing us pain and anger and bitterness and resentment, we're choosing that perception. We're responsible. So let's look at this in terms of, in fact, before we look at this, I'm going to give you an example of how I've been doing this wrong throughout my whole life. And it's the way that I essentially showed up with this is that I thought that if I emotionally detached myself from the situation, right? If I go above it, I don't care. So let's say someone cheats on you, for example. Now, the way that I would have handled that situation previously is to look at it through a lens of, I don't care, I'm indifferent, they can't hurt me, I'm unbreakable, what someone else does is not going to make me feel or be a certain way, I'm in control of my emotions, I'm responsible. But essentially what I would be doing is numbing myself. I'm acting indifferent because I'm actually scared of feeling the emotion. I'm scared of facing the pain. I'm scared of facing the hurt. And because of that, it meant that, I could be indifferent, I could numb myself and I could not feel the pain. But it also means that I'm again restricted into a way of being. I haven't been able to put myself in situations where I'd risk getting seriously hurt. For example, love with relationships. I always have or have had up until this point, I'll get with someone and I'll have I'll let them get close to a certain point, but she's never going to get past that last little bit, because that now is quite risky, because I might not be able to do my indifferent, I don't care, no one else can break me whole act and routine. I can't do that if she goes past that last little bit. So I'm restricted into a way of being which is keeping people more or less a little bit separate from me. And that's not the answer. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't pretending that you don't care. Forgiveness isn't acting like nobody can hurt you. Forgiveness is just letting go of the meanings that we create, taking responsibility for our own emotions, but being willing to go to experience the pain, being willing to experience what we're experiencing, but instead we're doing it through a lens of acceptance and surrender and love, instead of blame and victimhood and wanting to make them wrong and wanting to be right and wanting to make them know how much they've hurt us. What we can do when we can forgive is we can rise above that, but not in the way that I was doing before, not in the way of, they can't make me feel this pain, I'm indifferent, I'll pretend I don't care. But rise above in terms of observe that this is happening in ourself, observe our humanity, observe our character of self, feeling the pain and experiencing it, but being able to just experience it for what it is. Being able to let go of all the meanings that we've created. So to give you a specific example, let's say somebody cheats on you, right? Somebody you care about deeply. Maybe you've been in a relationship with them for years. Maybe you've been married, for example. And then someone has an affair, they cheat on you. Now, in terms of, if we were to label it based on society and based on what we as humans would say about the situation, it would be very clear that we'd label the cheater as wrong and we would be right? What they did was bad, and in this dynamic we're good, and it would be natural to label it as that. But by labeling it as that and then subscribing into the meanings behind it, we're slipping into the whole victimhood thing of they've done something to us and they've made us a certain way. And as long as we hold on to that, we're going to hold on to everything that goes with it. Bitterness, resentment, anger, etc., etc. All of those emotions that are tied into that meaning are going to go with it. And that means that we're chained into a certain way of being. We have to be angry. We have to be the victim. We have to be blaming them. We have to be, experiencing this feeling that we're right and they're wrong. And we want them to know how much they've hurt us. But if you want to be free from that, we have to be willing to let go of all of that and just see it as something that happened, right? Even the word cheated, like the meanings and the emotionally charged associations that we have with that word are going to put us back into the pattern. So what happened is they were close with another person, right? That's what happened. Now, what does that mean about you? What does that have to mean about you? And often the pain will be tied into that, all these other things like we're not lovable, we're not good enough, we're not sexy enough, we're not this, we're not that. They shouldn't have done wrong by us because blah, blah, blah. There's going to be all these other things tied in, and that's what's going to create the pain. But if we can recognize that if somebody cheated on us and got with somebody else, well, that doesn't actually mean anything other than what they're choosing it to mean and what we're choosing it to mean. And what they're choosing it to mean is to do with them, and what you're choosing it to mean is to do with you. They're going through their own stuff. And if they've done that, I know it might sound weird, but it's actually nothing to do with you. It's all to do with how they've perceived their reality. And in their reality, there is their perception of you, there is their idea of you, but what they've decided to do in that moment is all to do with them. Doesn't mean anything about you. The only meanings that it would mean about us are the ones that we create. And if we can recognize and have the awareness to see from a higher place, a higher level, to see that we're the one that's creating those meanings, and have the awareness to choose, do we want to subscribe to those meanings or do we want to let them go because it's only us that's created them? Well, if we can at least have the awareness to do that, we can see that we're responsible, we're the ones choosing the pain, we're the ones choosing the meanings. That then enables us to take back the power, take back responsibility, and go through the process of letting it go. And to let it go, we're going to need to experience the emotions. We're going to need to be in that space where we do feel the pain, but we can honor the fact that we are human. And it's natural for a human to feel this pain, but we can observe that pain from a higher place instead of being in the pain and being the victim and blaming and being right and they're wrong, etc., etc. Right? If you do it from a higher place through awareness, then what you'll start to realize is that we can let go of our expectations of how other people should be. Other people will do things, things will happen, and as long as we're in this whole thing of trying to make someone wrong and we're trying to be right and we have expectations of people, people will continually not meet our expectations of them. And if our expectations are continually not met, and every time someone doesn't meet our expectations, we're going to go into this whole pattern again, whether it's cheating, whether it's your boss showing up a certain way, whether it's your friends letting you down, whether it's this, whether it's that. As long as we're holding on to expectations, we will continually be disappointed. Trade your expectations for appreciation and your whole world will change. Things just happen. We can appreciate the life that we experience, or we can have expectations of how it should be and then be disappointed when the world doesn't meet them. Right? So let go of those expectations, trade them for appreciation, and then we can learn to surrender, to let go, and ultimately forgive. When we do that, we set ourselves free. We're no longer chained into being angry, bitter, resentful, and taking future actions based on the fact that we don't want to get hurt again. So we're going to lock ourselves in and not experience emotion. It's kind of what I did, same sort of thing. It's like, if I don't get too close to someone, then I'm not going to risk getting hurt. But that means that I have to continue to live as someone who doesn't get too close to anyone. And it's not really working out for me, so just have that awareness to recognize when we're living as a character, and if we don't want to be living as that character, we need to let it go. We need to learn to forgive. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope this is valuable. If you have enjoyed it, then please click subscribe. You'll see it on the screen right now. Also, if you have a perspective to share, please comment below, hit like as well if you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.